Hello, you're listening to Arts Talk Radio, and I'm Michael Hasted. We bring you regular news, reviews and interviews relating to all aspects of the arts in Holland, concentrating on events in Amsterdam, The Hague, Rotterdam and the surrounding areas. A rather special programme this week, as we have an exclusive interview with a best-selling author whose work is translated into dozens of languages. We also talk to the Dutch National Theatre about the issues of language for non-Dutch theatre-goers in Holland.
Arts Talk Radio online. Features on the arts in English.
NICCI French has written over 20 worldwide bestsellers over the past 2 decades, which have sold over 8 million copies. NICCI French was in Holland recently to promote the latest book, and we met up at the Pagman bookshop in Delft after a hectic hour spent signing copies of the new book. Now, in spite of your longevity, because you've been writing books now for 20 years or more, I think there are probably still people who don't know that NICCI French is in fact 2 people.
That's true.
It's true.
It's true. And one of them is Nicky Gerard.
Hello.
And the other is Sean French.
Hello.
And you're the sort of Lennon-McCartney of modern fiction.
So who am I? Am I Lennon or McCartney?
Yeah, I would say that's quite a good image, because I think the point, I'm a bit of a Beatles obsessive. So there are about 2 people who, alone, they would have, they would have been diminished, and there's something about when they got together, they achieved something they would never have done on their own. And I think, we've been doing it for a long time. What's so strange to us, but also satisfying, is I think writing as this strange joint person, NICCI French, I think it does allow us to write in a way that's separate from our own identity.
Because it's quite normal for songwriters to write in pairs, and it's very common usually even for comedy writers to write in pairs, but for fiction it's not so common. Do you know of any others?
We know of other people who write together. I don't think that we know of anyone who writes, who has no kind of boundaries between them, who write into a single voice, which is what we try and do. So it's not that Sean writes the bits that are kind of male and I write the bits that are female, or that we kind of share out research. We do everything together, and then when we write, we're trying to write into this third voice that we've created between us, the voice of NICCI French.
So what actually is the process? Do you actually sit down together at the computer and work it out?
No, never. So in that way, we're very different from songwriters or kind of comedy writers. So what we do is we spend weeks and months working out what the heart of the book is, what the plot of the book is, what the characters are, just the whole. When we've planned out the book and we know we've got the same book in each other's head, then we start writing, and we never write together. It simply wouldn't work. So one of us, and we don't decide in advance, one of us will write, say, the first chapter, and then they will email it to the other, who is free to add to it, to edit it, to correct it, to erase it, to kind of make it more NICCI French, as it were, and then they will write, say, the next chapter. So we pass the book between us like that.
And does it always join up properly? Do you remember there used to be, years ago, there used to be these twins in America, primitive painters, and they used to paint horses, and one used to paint the front end and the other used to paint the back end, and they always used to join up. Does yours always join up?
Well, the whole thing about our collaboration is, so for a start, we get all the ideas, we get them together, and we do the research together. So, and we start writing when we're really sure that we as NICCI said, that we have the same book in our heads. And then again, we're constantly. I think for a start, we both write. NICCI and I, when we write on our own, have separate styles, but when we write together, we write as this other. We suddenly become this other writer, and then also we're constantly editing each other, and we're discussing it all the way through, and then when we're finished, each of us goes through and changes it. So it really does. It's like the stew we create, and also we're both writing in that voice. So I think there aren't joins there. It's a bit like as if we cooked some huge casserole and at the together, and someone said, did you cook that carrot? But it's by that time it's all just a melange.
It always works. You never have problems.
Well, so does it always work? Of course it doesn't always work, and which is why we edit each other and change each other, and then when we go through the editing again, we re-edit each other and ourselves. So But I think what does work is that mysterious thing of writing in a different voice. So when Sean was saying we write as NICCI French, it's absolutely true. And it's quite kind of uncanny to us, because it's not that I sit down and think, okay, now I've got to kind of put myself into the kind of NICCI French voice, but it's what has happened over the years of writing together. We have made this kind of third imagination, if you want, the imagination that we kind of created between the two of us. And then when we're writing, we're both writing for ourselves, but to each other as well.
Was it an arbitrary decision to create NICCI French, or was this an accident where your work merged?
When we first met, we were both writers and journalists, and everything we read, we passed to each other, and everything we wrote, we were each other's first reader. And we had a conversation about how was it possible for two people to create a single voice? You know, the kind of voice that some novels you feel speaking to you. So that relationship between the reader and the writer. Would it be possible? And we said that one day, when we had more time, when our children were older, when we were less chaotic, we would try that as a kind of experiment. And then very quickly we came across the idea that became our first novel, The Memory Game, about the controversy over recovered or false memory. And we read about it and we thought that is such a good new idea for a kind of thriller, that if we don't do it now, someone else will do it. So it was like a kind of rocket for us, that kind of sense that it was an idea waiting to be seized. But we didn't do it thinking we're going to write and call ourselves NICCI French and be published and write 22 more books under the name of NICCI French. It wasn't a career plan. It was more like a kind of adventure that we were having, a kind of mad adventure, because we had tiny children and no time, and we lived in kind of, you know, we were anxious about money, and we were kind of in some kind of, you know, mayhem, our life. But it was just something that we did together just to see if we could do it together.
And you haven't looked back since.
We look back lots of times. You know, people think, oh, we must be this mature couple and it's all easy. I mean, writing fiction is hard, and writing together is much harder and more messy, because it's for a start it just takes twice as long, I think. Really. Not it doesn't take twice, but it's certainly it's not quicker. You know.
And possibly more difficult because you're married. It's like sort of teaching your wife to drive, I think.
Well, Nicky, what would you say? Was it like teaching my wife to drive?
Hang on a minute. This is not...
No, I was talking in the cliched sense of it.
But, I mean, you know, we know of other couples who've tried it and just it's absolutely failed after 10 minutes because you have a row. And the absolute heart of us doing it is a real trust. So if Nicky changes what I've done, it's not because there's a power struggle over the book. It's not that she has her own view of the book and she's just willy-nilly going to make the book be like that. I have a trust that she has a sense of what does the book need, and it's all about trying to make get the best NICCI French book we can. And without that trust, we'd have just failed. But even so, there are still sticky moments.
There's one thing which has struck me, because I think I've read most of your books. I certainly remember when you first published your book. And it struck me as a bit strange that they haven't been exploited so much on television. You've got Anne Cleves and Peter Robinson with DCI Banks and Vera Stanhope and Jimmy Perez. And is this
so there have been, like, I think there have been 3 TV versions.
But they haven't had the longevity of Vera.
They haven't, no. So the series that we did, so we only did standalones up until we started the Frida Klein series. So with the Frida Klein series, I mean, that has been bought and script is being written, and so who knows, maybe it will become a series. I mean, it would be lovely if it became a really good, gripping series. On the other hand, we're in the lucky enough position to just be writing for our living. And
has that progressed at all, the Vera Klein series?
The Frida Klein?
Yeah.
So we've written 8.
Right.
It was always
as an adaptation.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I mean, the one thing I don't, if you've had any dealings with the film world, books are being always being optioned, and it's very easy to option a book. And, so as soon as we wrote the first Free Decline book, it was optioned. And ever since, there have been scripts written and sort of, and it's almost been done. But it's all a matter, it's completely unpredictable. So we'd be very happy if a good version of it was made, but we're not sitting here holding our breath waiting for it to happen.
I think it strikes me as strange that it's not.
Yes, we thought it would be good, but us sitting thinking about it doesn't make it happen. And in a way, also, we could, if we could have devoted much more energy if we wanted to, going around banging on doors, getting it made. But we've already had other of our books adapted for TV, and that's fine, and we enjoy it when it happens. But what we do, our passion is writing the books. That's where that's the form that we. We love films, there's great TV out, but it'd be wonderful. But what we're good at is what we're good at. What we devote our energy to is writing books, and that really does fill enough of our time.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. That was NICCI French in the person of Nicky Gerard and Sean French. Thank you very much for talking to Arts Talk.
It was a pleasure.
Great pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Arts Talk magazine provides the perfect companion to Arts Talk Radio, with reviews and previews in English of cultural events in Holland. Whatever your interest in the arts, our international team of writers will always provide something new and exciting to see online. That's Arts Talk magazine, all one word, .nl. artstalkmagazine.nl.
Although virtually everyone in the Netherlands speaks English, language can still be a problem, and never more so than in the theatre, where it is often difficult to find plays performed in English.
Arts Talk Radio online.
When it comes to theatre and spoken word events, our eyes light up when we see the initials LNP in the brochures and programmes, and that stands for Language No Problem. Of course, there is STET, the English Language Theatre in The Hague, and other companies in Amsterdam. But for mainstream theatre, it is an issue, and one that the Dutch National Theatre is very aware of.
My name is Miel van Teijlingen. I work as a programmer at Nationale Theater, also known as the National Theatre, but then in The Hague. I work as a programmer, and I work mainly at Theater aan het Spui.
There are a lot of English speakers who love to go to the theatre, but there's always a problem here that it's in Dutch, and as you know, a lot of English speakers don't speak Dutch, and it's obviously unreasonable to expect the Dutch National Theatre to present plays in English. But I know that you are aware of this.
We're very aware of this, and we really are focusing in the future to be accessible for a wider and a broader audience. So we're developing new programs and also thinking about how we can be more accessible for an international audience and also for people who don't speak Dutch, because I think 90 to 95% of the theater shows that we present and also create are very text-based, and that's also in Dutch.
I mean, all theatre is text-based, and as I said, it's unreasonable to expect the Dutch National Theatre to perform in English.
Yeah. Well, that's correct, but we're thinking about new things to develop. There's a couple of shows that we present that are also with surtitles, but we also present international theater makers during the Explore Festival, which all have different backgrounds and come from all over the world. So we have to do surtitles, and when we do surtitles, we do it in English and also in Dutch. To be honest, we're very aware that we're not accessible to all of The Hague, because we want to be a place where everyone in The Hague should come. So we're trying to develop new things and also work together with the KBK, the Royal Academy of the Art, to introduce the art students to what we're doing here, and also to invite them to programs that are Language No Problem.
Because a lot of the program of the plays you put on are very international, from all over. I noticed last year, the year before, you had The Father, which was French, which was a very, very big success, very popular, and won a lot of awards in England.
Yeah.
And you do lots of things like that. Is there a general policy for the National Theatre? I mean, you say you are aware of the language issues.
Yeah.
But do you have a policy for plays in general?
Mainly we focus on the Dutch theatre makers, but we're very pleased to have like such a strong partner, Hasted, the English theatre, who are like one of our partners in presenting like non-Dutch theatre performances. So we're very happy with that, and we're trying to make our Dutch shows more accessible. So that's something really for that's happening right now on a small scale, but we want to do it on a bigger scale in the future. But yeah, we're trying to develop new things to work on our accessibility.
But do you ever put on English plays in the English language?
Only in co-production with Hasted. We really focus on the Dutch theatre makers and theatre companies. To like program internationally is also very expensive. So we're trying to like put the focus on the connections we already have in the Netherlands and see how we can make these performances like very accessible, and maybe in the future we will think about programming internationally.
But no, I mean, theatre is very international, so I think it's always important that any country should be aware of what's happening elsewhere and shouldn't be too insular.
Yeah, we're very aware of that, and we're like focusing on, and we're thinking about how to create new programs and create like possibilities to be more accessible in the future for people who don't speak Dutch.
That was Miel van Teijlingen of the Dutch National Theatre. If you have any views on this issue or anything else come to that, please get in touch, which you can do through the comments section under each programme on Arts Talk Radio or through the Contact Us page at artstalkmagazine.nl. So that's all for this week, but please join us for the next edition of Arts Talk Radio. And if you click on the subscribe button, you'll be able to keep up to date with all the latest programmes. My name is Michael Hasted, and so for the moment, it's goodbye.